10x your service design offering with Smelly. Take 20% off any order with This Is HCD 20 off. Let's superpower you and your design team's potential. Sign up at smelly.app. Enjoy the episode from your friends at Smelly, helping support This Is HCD podcast.
Welcome to Worldwide Waste, a podcast about how digital is killing the planet and what to do about it. Anneli Ohvril is founder and CEO of Let's Do It World, the international environmental organisation that engages leaders and organisations around the globe for a waste-free world. The biggest project World Cleanup Day have engaged in involved more than 50 million people from 180 countries. Anneli is an expert in social change and excels in communication and marketing. She is an initiator of numerous social changes locally and globally.
The World Cleanup Day started already in 2008 when we cleaned up all Estonia from garbage. At that time, of course, we didn't think that we are going to be so global. But our action inspired a lot of our organization and countries in the world. And, step by step, today we have an organization which have active teams in 164 countries, and it's still growing. And our flagship project is still World Cleanup Day, when we engage all the people around the globe to one-day cleanup action. And we're really happy that there are really millions of people who are joining and who cares about the clean world. For example, in 2019, 21 million people came out from their homes and pick up trash on one day in 180 countries, which was really amazing. And even during the COVID time in 2020, we engaged at least 11 million people who came out individually. So without big gatherings and pick up trash and raise awareness about the global waste crisis. So the World Cleanup Day, this is the really great tool to bring people together and start a discussion in society. So how we can achieve the sustainable world and what we should do, what we should change in society in order to, to live in harmony with the environment and really to live in the sustainable world.
Yeah, it's a fantastic story. Like, I come from Ireland, and we always felt, we'll never win the World Cup or never do anything because they're so small and nothing really matters, and nothing can make a huge difference. But Estonia is even smaller than Ireland, and you've had this, impact because of these global ideas. But I think it's connected as well with a concept you've talked about before about, is it 3%, 4% or 5% that, once you get a certain percentage, you can really achieve a lot. You don't need to get 50% to get moving.
Yeah, exactly. So we are, our goal is to engage at least 5% of each country population, which is scientifically proven a tipping point to start a change in society. And it's already proven in many countries. So those countries who achieve even 3% of population, we can see a lot of changes there. For example, Slovenia, who engage 14% of population. This is really amazing. We are still a record holder on that field. And maybe people know that Slovenia, we took first the zero waste approach. So Ljubljana, the capital city, was the first zero waste capital city in the Europe. But now we are really working on the circular economy path, and we have a lot of different activities and the strategies towards circular economy. And also, for example, Indonesia, who engaged 3% of population, which was more than 9 million people on one day to clean up. And even Indonesia is really complicated country 17,000 islands and thousands of languages, a lot of different religions and so on and so on. Not existing waste management system or partly existing. But still, we see the changes what the World Cleanup Day caused in Indonesia, and really happy for that. So indeed, the World Cleanup Day is not just a cleanup, but it's really bringing people together and giving them hope that together we can achieve impossible. Together we really can change the world, and we can really start positive change in society. This is really a hope project, I believe.
Absolutely, it's amazing. I was just talking. I just did an interview with a person called Katie Singer, who's what you might call a digital and overall environmentalist, but maybe has more focused on the digital or technological space in the last 10 or 15 years. And she was saying about how, the internet is the largest structure that humans have ever built. And what has always surprised her is how few people understand that, or even think about that, or have any sort of awareness of this massive technological superstructure that exists around us throughout the world. But it is something that you have become aware of in the last couple of years, because you've not just you've got the World Cleanup Day, but you're now also focusing on digital cleanup. So how did that come about?
Yeah, that was a funny story. So the COVID-19 pandemic it's not always bad, and I believe that many people talked about that the COVID-19 forced us to think out of the box and maybe to nudge us to find the new solutions and new ways, and maybe even made a disruption in societies. And the same way to the World Cleanup Day or the Let's Do It World to our organization. Last year, in April, we had to organize great global cleanup together with Earth Day Network. Earth Day is the second environmental organization in the world, and I believe also the one of the oldest one. We celebrated 50th anniversary last year, and it's also really, really large environmental organization. And we wanted to join the hands and organize together great global cleanup in April on Earth Day, 22nd of April. But of course, that was COVID-19 time. Pandemic was really high, and we needed to find something else what we can do without moving out from our homes. And then we figured out the digital cleanup day, which was in the beginning more like alternative to physical cleanup, just to provide people to do something for the environment. But then we dig into that topic, and we realized that the digital waste is as important as a physical waste, and we are not aware of that. And it was even kind of like a shock to us that, we thought that the digital world is living kind of like separately from the physical world, and whatever we do in our computers and smartphones doesn't have any impact to the environment. But it's not true. And we realized that there is millions, hundreds of millions of tons of CO2 what internet produce every year. And if you take Gerry, you're discovering that 90% of this data is actually wasted. That the data which is never gonna be accessed. So this is really I don't know. It's a madness that we are producing so much CO2, and this is for nothing. So we're just warming the climate, and no one benefits from that. So we understood that actually this is not alternative anymore to Let's Do It World. But we have to raise awareness about the digital waste, we have to start to implement the digital hygiene, and we just have to start to talk about it. So we are not asking people to, give up from internet or or just reject internet. Of course not. But there is so much wasteful behavior in digital world, and this is definitely what we can change, and we have to change. So that was kind of like a positive outcome from COVID-19. And we're really happy about that, because it's really opened the new world for us. And we see that we can really benefit here. So, and we can really do something about it in the world.
It's a happy accident,
Yeah.
It's funny. A lot of the greatest discoveries are like that, about standing back and thinking and to me, one of the biggest shocks, data, of course, and all the waste data, but was really when I discovered that it's the devices that, 80% of the pollution occurs during the manufacture of the device, and that when you bought your smartphone, you've already 60 kgs of CO2 have been emitted, and that, we're creating these enormous quantities of actual physical digital waste, old phones and laptops, etc. Somebody said that we're dumping the equivalent of 1,000 laptops every second. Like every second, we're dumping 1,000 laptops. That's roughly 50 million tons of e-waste. Have you noticed or thought about that area, about the physical side of this e-waste, which is very, very toxic?
Yeah, this is really again the new mountain of that problem, because we just climbed on one mountain, which is digital waste, but then we saw that this is not only about the digital waste which we cause by making pictures and videos, but we also this is also connected with all the production part, and really with the physical smartphones and laptops. And now we also mapping the situation, and we also searching what we can do here, because the problem is really, really big. And it's, from one hand, it's connected with the single usage habits. So we have single usage habits everywhere. So we like to use single use bags, single use bottles, single use whatever. Everything is more like a single use, but they are not designed for the long life. And sometimes, even if we design for long life, we are by ourselves, we want to use them shorter than they actually provide. So I see that the root problem here is that we want to just consume the resources, and we are not thinking about what is the impact to the world. So it's really fancy to buy the new phone again, which have some additional features and so on. But we never realize of how much resources have been spent on that phone, and what it caused to the environment. So basically, we dramatically have to change our habits and then our attitudes towards consumption, and we much more we have to start think about how we can use the resources as long as possible, what are in our hands. And what is even more interesting, that very often, if we are buying the new things, we don't add so much extra quality to our life. So for example, if we buy the new phone, yes, maybe there are some new features, but the quality of life doesn't increase the same amount as the impact on the environment is, if it makes sense,
Oh, totally. I mean, like, I look at my phone now, and I think I could use this phone for the rest of my life. I'm not going to live forever, but I can't. What do I really need? Do I need 16 cameras on it or whatever? Or it's, uh, we have enough, but it's never enough, it seems to be.
Yeah, this is kind of like a social norm. So the social norm is that the new is better when old one, and the fancy one is better when the traditional one. So even if we are not talking only about smartphones or laptops, it actually applies to every part of the life that we should start to value the things which really last. I really enjoy some, for example, some clothes which I bought 20 years ago, and they are still, okay. And I really love to wear them because I feel comfortable with them, and I really like that we had done in good way, so the quality is really strong. And in that way, actually, we also have to value the things which really, last in our lives, and not value the things which is just temporary in our life. So, but it's a big shift in our minds.
It's a big shift, and absolutely what you've said is foundational. Connecting with so many countries or in the space. Are you noticing any of that shift, or at least people raising these questions of how we go away from a waste culture? Is there any? Do you see any cultural change beginning to happen?
Yeah, absolutely. So when we started 2008, the situation at that time was absolutely different. For example, that the people talked about waste more in the context of visual problem, not about environmental problem. We just talked that I don't like if waste is everywhere because it's not beautiful. I would like to go to the forest and I would like to enjoy the pure environment. But we didn't think about the environmental impact. Now we don't talk about anymore the visual effect, but it's more about environmental impact. So I see the dramatic change in the rhetorics during these 12 years. And which is really great is that the new generation is already having absolutely different mindset. So we're rather living light. So we don't value anymore owning things, which is really great. So we're more renting or leasing or just trying to live as light as possible. And even I can see it on my child who is 25 and I'm really enjoying that he doesn't care how much things he has, even more that he wants to live light and he doesn't want to buy things. If he needs something, then he tries to find it and borrow it from some friends. And this is the attitude, because if you have a tool which you use just once a year, you shouldn't need to own that. You should borrow it or rent it. And this should be the rule. And the new generation is also much more environmentally friendly, and we are also value the reusage, recycling, and we are also not eating so much meat, and they prefer more vegetables and so on and so on. So a lot of surveys has also proven that. And I really, hope that the new generation is already different, and we will fix the world and becomes already with different attitudes and then the different social norms, which is much more sustainable than maybe the current ones.
Yeah, I think those ships of borrowing and using it's extremely positive to see in the younger generation. But maybe going back to the digital again, I've been doing analysis over the last year or two on photographs and the kind of the history of photographs, and What I've discovered from the data is that, say, last year in 2020, we took more photos than in the entire 20th century. Last year, we took about 1.4 trillion photos. And in the entire 20th century, I think maybe 1.2 trillion photos. That sometimes you see the younger generation has really become aware in a very positive way of all of those things you said about reuse and not eating so much meat and stuff like that, but are maybe not as conscious that their digital activities have impacts on the environment. And you'll see them at demonstrations and they're all taking videos and it's all great. But, when you start getting into more than 1 trillion photographs a year, you really start creating an underlying impact. Do you notice that there's that still blindness that, we still, even the young generation are still blind to digital and its environmental impacts?
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. So there is not always, the perfect solution. Yes, the new generation is really aware about the physical environment and physical impact, but we are not so aware about the digital waste and its impact on the environment. And this is definitely what where is the big gap, and because just no one has talked about it. So it's understandable. So if we are talking about the digital waste, I always see surprising faces because people just don't know it. And also we can't blame the young generation that we just don't know what kind of impact it has, we're creating massively TikTok videos or doing stupid photos and sharing them in social media. But it's again, this is the question of raising awareness, and I believe that the new generation is quite open to that messages and change their habits as well. Again, that we are not asking them to stop making photos and stop making videos, but just being more conscious about that and thinking, do I need to make 200 photos per day, or do I need to upload this video exactly to the TikTok? Maybe I can be here also more rational and more conscious about the impact. So yeah, so everything started actually the raising awareness, and I hope that if people know about it, so we can also change their attitudes and also change behavior.
Absolutely. And I kind of, looking at the waste area that, as you say, we're not saying let's not take photographs, but do we really need to take 1.4 trillion photographs? And then, of all of those, how many of them are any good? And like, we don't clean up after ourselves in digital. Like imagine the world, Anneli, that if we turn digital into a physical world, like if we could turn our, hard drives or our cloud environments into a place we had to actually live in physically for 24 hours. And imagine if all data was like fruit and it went off, it began to smell as it got old and useless. I mean, we wouldn't have a very clean or tidy world if we turned the digital world into the physical world, would we?
Absolutely, yeah. And I believe this is the key is in visualization, because if we're working in the digital world or living in the digital world, so we don't realize, or we don't see the waste as it is in the nature. But if we are able to visualize that, and if we can also draw the similarities to the physical world, I think again we can also draw the pictures in people's mind that in the digital world there are also the huge virtual landfills exactly as in the physical world. Indeed, we are not smelling, but we are just producing CO2 in other ways. We don't see it, but we are still there and we are still producing CO2. So it's So it's more about the giving giving the light on that problem, which is actually not seenable. So we can't see it with the eyes, and that's the problem. If we're talking about the digital waste, it's really, really hidden. And here we can talk about digital blindness. If we are talking about trash blindness in a physical world, it means that we don't see trash anymore because we're born into trashy world, and the trash is in environment. This is a normal environment for us and for many generations. And we just haven't seen the clean environment. And that's why we don't see the trash. And sometimes we are also just ignorant. But if we teach them to see the trash, then we also see the problem behind that. And exactly the same thing in digital world. This is also digital blindness. So we are working and we are seeing only our laptop or the smartphone, but we don't see the huge digital landfills behind that and its impact to the environment. And this is also our role to visualize that and to make it more visible and more understandable to people.
So, you're saying to programmers and designers, young designers or old designers or whatever designers, that we've got a big challenge to visualize digital trash, to make, either systems, either at an operating system level or, in smartphone apps, that there's an element of a feature that says, there's 4 gigabyte a day that you haven't looked at in 6 months. Do you really want to keep it? We need ways in the design process to bring these things to the fore, because what I've found over the years is that an absolute total neglect of the functionality around reviewing and removing and archiving and cleaning up. A huge emphasis in apps or software on the creation process, but very little thought about how to remove or how to clean up after you.
Yeah, that's true. You made me think that, again, there is not so much difference between digital world and the physical world. So if we're talking about circular economy, so we are also talking about how to design out the waste from production, starting to design the products in that way that during the production there will be no waste, and also during the usage there is no waste, and also if we don't use that product, we just don't discard it, and it doesn't end up in landfill, but it's we are taking it again into circle, using it as a materials or just giving the new function to it. So in the physical world, designers have also the goal to design out the waste, and that to design the product which doesn't cause or doesn't produce any waste during its lifespan. And the same thing, which actually in the digital world, the programmers are also like digital designers who should create such kind of programs, such kind of application, such kind of system that the people, if they are using it, so we are not creating waste while using that program. And it's also programmed or designed in that way. It also kind of like maybe, clean behind themselves, maybe. And so it's absolutely different mindset for the programs, because we haven't thought, I believe, so far about it. So how much digital waste we are producing if we are creating such kind of programs. I believe that they haven't asked that question yet.
Yeah, like I was reading a blog there of a developer talking about how the system he's using never deletes backups, and that backups are created really, really in a multitudinous way. Anytime he makes a slight little change to his website, they create almost an entire copy of that environment, and that he's just got hundreds and hundreds of copies of hundreds and thousands of pages, and they're going back years, and there is absolutely no system to remove them.
Yeah, yeah. And if we put it to the physical world, it's the same thing that if we want to buy the coffee cup, just in case, we buy them 20. Maybe because maybe we need them, or just backup if one is going to be broken. Or if we buy like, 50 t-shirts looking exactly the same, because maybe one is getting, dirty, and that's why we need 50. It's the same thing. So we don't need to buy the one thing like tens of times the same thing. But in digital world, the same thing, that the backups seems that it just takes a bit space and maybe a bit money for them. But again, we don't see the cool picture around that.
Yeah, I think what you're touching on there is the culture of cheap and the culture of free, the type of people we become when a lot of the things we're using are either cheap or free. We begin to lose sense of value, and we develop a lot of really bad habits in a cheap free culture, don't we?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's a interesting construction in our head that cheap, not valuable, and expensive, valuable. Cheap, we don't have to take care of it. We can buy them as much as possible, and we can discard. And expensive, we have to keep it. We have to take care of it. So it's interesting, but but we can't just make everything expensive in order to start to take care of them. So it's more about the mindset in our head that it doesn't mean that it's cheap. It has a different cost. Yes, we don't have to pay money maybe for that, but maybe it would be interesting idea to put also the environmental price to every product, to every program and application. So if you're using it, so how much you are paying in terms of environment? So how much damage you will do to the environment every time when you use it?
No, that's a great idea, and I think these are the true costs. I mean, we don't like with plastic. We don't account for the 1,000 years of damage that plastic will do. We don't account for the birds that it will smother or get into the stomach of, or we just account for the fact that we bought a cheap toy and we can throw that toy away, but we are storing 1,000 years of pollution in that decision. The earth pays for 1,000 years for our 2-minute decision.
Yeah. The problem of plastic is exactly it's really really easy to use and cheap, but it's like a river. So river is also going to that direction, which is comfortable and easy to go. So never we see the river goes up to the mountain. The same thing with society. So if something is really easy and cheap, goes to that direction, and nothing to do. So we have to also make some thumbs behind that, so that it's not anymore easy and cheap and easy to go. And I don't talk about only that we should make some things more expensive. Sometimes it's also about creating the new social norms that we agree that using plastic is not the way to go, especially massively. Of course, in some places, plastic is, needed, but it's not needed in massively. And the same thing in digital world. So it's, of course, we need to use the internet and we need to, use our laptops and the phones. But again, so and maybe it's also easy to create the files and upload them to the cloud and make it backups. But it doesn't mean that we have to do one. Let's agree that this is not the way how we behave in the digital world.
Yeah.
Let's create the new social norms that
yeah, absolutely. Because what I've noticed with myself over the years is that I really have to struggle to think when I'm using a digital environment, either my laptop or my phone. There's always a kind of the urge to act, even if I'm trying to remember something, my impulse is always to go, to DuckDuckGo or to Google or to search. The effort of trying to remember seems too much. Or if I'm writing something and I know I've spelt it wrong, I don't, my brain doesn't want to go to the hassle of remembering how it's actually spelled. It just wants to right click and get the software to fix the problem. And I think there is that sense that digital drives out thinking, and that there's so much activity and doing that occurs. And I noticed that in programming and design, that almost the first impulse is, let's get something up, let's get something done, let's get, shoot first, then think later in the process. And maybe that's why we've 1.4 trillion photos, because we just go click, 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 click. We don't even think about, well, what's the best position? Is this the right light? Is this all the other things that photographers used to think about? We don't do it because a lot of times anyway, the software does the thinking for us, but it does so much thinking for us that we've turned into these just clickers and doers and creators of stuff that's of little value. And how do we get out of that short term, automated, just doing behavior and start thinking a little bit more?
Yeah, that's true. It's really interesting angle. So what you just touched. So it made me think so that is technology serving us, or we are serving technology? And sometimes seems that we are serving technology, and we are in a way addicted to the technology. And and we are like in that circle. So because if we are already in that circle, if we are already in the social networks, it's kind of like making us think that we need to produce the content, otherwise it doesn't work anymore. We are like kind of like out. So it's always pressure and pressure and pressure. So I understand that sometimes it's really hard to step out from the social media. And I've seen people who are really struggling, that if they are not in the social media for some days, they are really anxious. And I just give you an example. So my good friend from China visited me a couple of years ago. She visited first time Europe. So first time she was in Europe, and she was really addicted to social media. And it means that we went out to sightseeing tour in Estonia. And instead of looking around and being surprised how the things are here in Estonia, she was looking to her phone, and he was chatting because it was because she was just addicted to that. And she also admit that in China there is a lot of hospitals who are taking care of young people who are addicted to the technology. So it means that this is kind of like a system which creates more and more content creation by the people, and that's make me think that in a way the technology doesn't serve us anymore, but people serves technology. And if we start to realize that who is do we benefit from technology, or is it opposite? Maybe it's also makes the picture more clear. So do we need all this click, click, click making photos? By the way, if we started the digital cleanup day last year, I also opened my phone, and I was absolutely shocked if I found out that in my phone there is 23,000 photos. I didn't realize that. because I believe that I'm not making so many photos. But during these 10 years, 23,000 photos. I was really shocked.
And like, Anneli, what are you going to do with 23,000 photos? Like, I mean, is your, in the future, you're going to look back? I mean, it's too much, isn't it? You can't, you kind of go, oh, I can't. It's gone beyond organization almost at that stage.
Yes, absolutely. And if I need to find some emotional photo, I know that I made it from concrete time. I don't find it, or I really have to spend time to find it. And this is definitely not what I would like to be. So I also made a digital cleanup day in my photos, and I was able to delete 2,000 photos, which was already great. But I still have 21,000 photos.
Well, what other sort of digital advice is there around, email? I know email is another area, or videos, or, what advice are your teams, or what are they finding that's working, or that can help people become? Yeah, I think you said yourself, have better digital hygiene.
Yeah, actually, so what we advise people how to start that digital cleanup. So we advise to start with really simple steps, which is, I believe, everyone can do. The first, really pay attention to the photos and videos and delete all the unnecessary one, all the blurry ones, all duplicates and so on. And also just try to avoid making unnecessary photos and unnecessary videos, because I believe that everyone has done, just videos because exactly on that moment I had such kind of emotion. And the next morning, the video has no emotional value anymore. So just try to think about it that you don't need to make videos from everything. And sometimes it's much more valuable that just to enjoy that moment and not recording that moment. So the first is the videos and the photos. The second is to look at application in your smartphones and also in your computer. So to see what kind of application do you use and what kind of you are not using. And why it's important, because the application is also having the traffic in the background. They are constantly updating themselves and constantly have also the traffic behind, so you don't even realize that. So it's better to delete this application to avoid unnecessary traffic. So just keep the application in your phone which you really use, and this program in your computer which you really use. This is the second thing. The third thing is just take a look to your email account. So then first unsubscribe from all newsletters that you don't read. Not just don't delete them, but unsubscribe. Because if the email comes to your inbox, it already creates traffic and it already creates CO2. So unsubscribe all the newsletters. Then we also advise delete all emails that are older, for example, 2 years or whatever type it is. Because if you think, so how many times you have searched for the older mails than 2 years? I believe that you also haven't done it. And believe me, if you delete all the emails, actually you'll never miss them again. So also we advise not to send the big files. Instead of that, just send links. Because if the emails is really big one, so if there is really heavy attachment, it's also cause heavier traffic and it's also cause a lot of CO2. But just upload the file to some clouds and then send to links. And it's also much more effective to work on one document in the cloud when to send the files to different people. They download it to their computer and then back and forth we are trying to send the files. Definitely it's not the way to go. Also, we also advise people not to thank people through email. What I mean is that, for example, there was a survey which which says that, for example, if all the UK people refuse to send a thank you email, so it means that annually it's equal to 81,000 individual flights from London to Madrid. It's the same amount of CO2, which is unbelievably big amount, right? So sometimes it's really easy to just send really like shortly some notes. But again, think about, do you need to send this email or not? And definitely what we advise not to have brainstorming in emails, which is also that I think in that way, or I don't think so. And there is arguing through the emails. Definitely there is a better platforms to doing that. So to using the communication platform to really have a conversation, because emails is more about sending information and maybe to send the links for the meetings and so on and so on. Very often it's also about how do you structure your work, and how do you work together with other people. And I see that there is a lot of to do for companies to set up the rules. So how we keep data in our company. So what is the role of creating the files? How the role is having conversation? How the role is to delete and clean up and the working files? Because again, I think it's really normal that people are doing a lot of files just to work for one document. And if the document is ready, all the drafts and previous version are still kept in the system. But it's again really small things to do, but just delete all the previous versions and keep only the final ones, which should be the rule also in companies.
The excellent and practical advice. And Anneli, if people want to get involved in either the World Cleanup Day or the Digital Cleanup Day, how should they go about it? Either helping organise in their country or join in with initiatives that are already happening in their country. What's the next steps for them?
So to participate on World Cleanup Day, so I advise to find the additional information on World Cleanup Day webpage, and also advise to find the country-specific guidelines in your country World Cleanup Day page, and the webpage addresses you can also find that from worldcleanupday.org. So if you go to the contacts, if you type in your country name, you can see who is the leader in your country, and also you can see the webpage and all the social media accounts as well. So just go and search and find out. But in general, there is not so big rules. If you want to participate, you can organize the cleanup by yourself, or to join the existing ones, which also usually seeable in your country page. What concerns Digital Cleanup Day, so it's the Digital Cleanup Day also doesn't have to be on one day. So we announced that the Digital Cleanup Day is 20th March 2022, but you can start with digital cleanup basically immediately. So, and if you have done the digital cleanup, then would be really great if you can also report the results on the digitalcleanupday.org webpage, so we can see how much impact we are able to do globally.
If you'd like to hear more podcasts on this subject, please visit www.thisishcd.com. If you visit gerrymcgovern.com, that's GERYMCGOVERN.com, you'll get information on my book, Worldwide Waste.